1212 Radio Culture. Once again, iCulture TV. We're live, we're airborne right now. Thank you very much for checking in with us. Today is Sunday, June 28, 2026. Yes, indeed. Today, as always, we have another packed show for you, and we are actually not going to waste too much time on the introduction because I do have my erudite guest already in the green room ready to go. So I'll just do a quick introduction of the subject and then we'll cut straight to brass tacks. Some of the news that easily skip us, some of the news that very easily go past us without too much attention. And in my opinion, the attention that the media should give it, as compared to some of the other stuff that normally get the headlines. And this one is one of them. Just the other day, I chanced upon a piece of news item where the president was announcing a scholarship fund, a fund for research, not scholarship, research, pardon me, research fund for academics. Now, immediately, one name came to my mind. The moment, now listen, the moment I heard the word research, one name is synonymous with that word research. So the moment I saw that piece, I was like, I wonder what Dr. John Osae-Kwapong thinks about this. And I had been practically harassing Dr. Osae-Kwapong for a while for, interviews and all of that, for different things and all of that. So I felt like hanging on a bit, but I'm like, no. This cannot go without John Osae-Kwapong's input. I want to know what he thinks about this monolithic step, in my opinion. But he is the expert. I want to know what Dr. John Osae-Kwapong thinks about the institution of the Ghana National Research Fund. And yes, he graciously accepted to speak with us, and he's right now in the green room, so I'm not going to take too much of the time. Let's cut straight to brass tacks. Let's go bring on Dr. John Osae-Kwapong. Later on, we will also be joined by Professor Razak Gyasi. Professor Razak Gyasi is also a research scientist. We are expecting him to also join us along the way. But let's start now with Dr. John Osae-Kwapong, research fellow. Doc, thank you very much for, I know I yanked you away from something, so whatever it is that I took you away from, I apologize, but thank you very much.
My pleasure, senior. Yes. When your senior calls, eventually you have to respond.
Eventually, some way, somehow. But yes. Thank you so much. I know your plate is always full, but somehow you always find time for us. I'm very grateful for that, Doc. So let's go straight to it. I'm sure you have heard about the Ghana National Research Fund. Before we start the conversation, I would like us to view this video very quickly. When we come back, I'll get your reaction, Doc.
And compete in a rapidly evolving global economy. Today, through the Ghana National Research Fund, we begin to address this structural gap. Ladies and gentlemen, the establishment of this fund is directly aligned with our broader national transformation agenda. It supports our commitment to the 24-hour economy initiative and to the accelerated exports development program. It supports our ambition to modernize agriculture, strengthen agro-processing, expand manufacturing, improve healthcare delivery, advance digital transformation, promote renewable energy, and build globally competitive industries. Every major pillar of our economic strategy demands innovation. Every innovation requires research. Every research ecosystem requires predictable financing. The Ghana National Research Fund is therefore not peripheral to our development agenda, it is central to it. Macroeconomic stability remains important, and the government has taken difficult but necessary measures to restore confidence in our economy. However, long-term transformation cannot rely on macroeconomic stability alone. Sustainable economic progress requires growth in productivity. Productivity growth depends on knowledge systems, advanced skills, technological innovation, and institutional capabilities. Nations that consistently invest in research and development are better placed to modernize their agriculture, strengthen their health systems, improve governance, create jobs, and build resilient economies. This is the broader significance of the Ghana National Research Fund. The fund's mission-based framework reflects a clear understanding that research investments must be directed towards the areas that are most critical to Ghana's development. Ghanaian farmers and agriculturists are looking for research that will save them from the scourge of the armyworm in maize production. Ghanaian farmers, cocoa farmers, are looking to research that will develop species of cocoa that are resistant to the swollen shoot disease. Ghanaian farmers are looking to scale up commercial cotton farming that will be resistant to the boll weevil. Ghanaian farmers and Ghanaian consumers are looking for gobe that is not infested with weevil.
Okay. Look, your initial reactions, great news. I was very excited about the news, but I don't know if I'm overly excited. Tell us something. What was your initial reaction when you heard about the Ghana National Research Fund?
Thank you very much. Your overexcitement is appropriate. It's in order. I know that over the years, conversations do come up. There are public conversations about how much do we really invest as a country in R&D, research and development, not just the research that is funded by outside entities, whether it is outside government, whether it is outside private foundations, that we as a country, how much of our domestic funds do we mobilize to support research? And I know that once in a while, the question will come up as in perhaps we need to be very intentional about some kind of a national fund that would go to support research. Yes, I know that as a matter of policy, for example, in our universities, faculty do get a book allowance where some of it is supposed to help them do their individual research in their disciplines. But this is much bigger than that. This is a national research fund that says, as a country, we are going to commit some of our resources to support research, and not just for research for the sake of just doing research, but research that allows us to address some of our most important public problems, some of our challenges, but also even research to help us innovate. You never know what that scientist that you support with some research fund will be able to come up that helps us, let's say, deal with climate change, or come up with innovative ways to support the cocoa farmer beyond cancer, for example. You know that we have like WACRE, right? WACRE has been doing research over the years to really support cocoa farmers. But imagine what more we can do institutionally and as a country if we make investments where, as our up-and-coming scientists, our policy makers, the education person, the person in health, the person in an allied health profession, right, looking for new ways to improve service, new solutions to answer some of our vexing problems, for me, is what makes this very important. And we can't always rely on external entities to fund the things we say are important, right? Sometimes we as a nation also have to make certain commitments to demonstrate that these things are important to us as a nation.
Absolutely. And Doc, is this a novelty? Is this new? Is this something that used to be there that was not being paid attention to, and then the president is reviving it, or is this a brainchild of President Mahama?
So I believe it's new. I know conversations have been had about it over the years about we need a national research fund, we need a national research fund. So if you look at our public sector agencies, for example, every public sector agency has a unit that does some research, evaluation, monitoring, all of those things. But there isn't I know that going back in 2020, an act was passed, right, that established the fund. So I think what President Mahama is doing now is taking the next step. That says, look, we passed this act to show that this is important, but what we are doing now is let's officially launch it, let's operationalize it, let's put money into it to say we didn't just pass legislation for the sake of just passing legislation. But again, prior to all of that, then there were, there are research units within public sector agencies that are supposed to do research and all of that. We have other kinds of research, like the West Africa Cocoa Research Institute, right? You have the Noguchis and the rest. But again, this takes the 2020 Act to a new level that says, now we are going to really operationalize this thing, put some money into it, and then get it up and running.
Let me knock this low-hanging fruit out of the way before we get into the deeper discussion, though. Do you think this is going to help address the issue of brain drain somewhat?
That's for me the purpose of research, right? Especially applied research. Beyond just brain drain, research should be able to help us, again, besides innovation, also help us come up with innovative solutions to address some of our most vexing problems, right? So if we spend some money out of this National Research Fund trying to even understand who is leaving, why they are leaving, which sectors are greatly impacted by their leaving, right? Why are we losing our best talent to other places?
Okay.
Then
I guess that's when we can answer that question.
You come up with some innovative policy solutions that addresses that matter.
But I guess why I'm asking that question is because, we always say, oh, like it looks like we lose our best and brightest to the so-called West, right? Because you see some of our best, honestly, including yourself, right, get pulled away because you need research funding, which did not used to be there, which you can find somewhere else. So when you get that, of course, I just can't stay in your head. You would follow that to where you can implement your ideas in the form of research. Now, with that available resource in Ghana, that's how I'm looking at it. Do you think that will cut that down a little bit, please?
I mean, it should help, right? Because like you said, every person who is really interested in research, right, whether it's a scientific research, whether it's the research we do in the social sciences or in other disciplines, it still takes money to be able to do that, right? And other tools to help you do that research. So a committed researcher would always go to where the resources are available to enable him or her to be able to do that research. Absolutely. So you're so right. If we are able to really make this fund work, even if some would still leave, right, that at least you can use what you're building on the domestic front to leverage, the talent you have, to entice and incentivize them enough that they would say, you know what, let me do this research. Let me stay and do this research here because now the resources, especially the financial resources, are available for me to be able to do my work.
Okay, look, the president mentioned the fact that some of the research that our researchers get funding to do are not necessarily the type of research that our country may need, right? For instance, if if a researcher is looking into something global, it's more likely for them to get I don't know how it works. You can tell me better. But then most of the funding that our researchers get seem to not specifically address our issues, whereas this one is going to actually target issues, as you have already stated yourself, which are like vexing issues to our community, which needs to be addressed. So this is targeted towards that. Your reaction to that?
Yes, and that for me is very important, because as a researcher, when you are looking for research grants, right, and you look up all these different organizations, whether it's even public organizations outside, whether it's private foundations outside, they all have their areas of priority, the thematic areas they want to support. And so there are times where you have to modify some of your research interest to be able to do that. There are times too where your research interest is nicely aligned with a private foundation's research priorities. But at least with this, it's not always looking at the global picture or global questions or global issues, which may also have some implications for Ghana, right? That with your own country's national research fund, now you can actually pay attention to the particular issues that are emerging within your country context and researching around that to find solutions to them.
All right. Now, the president also said something which kind of takes me a little back, right? So I'm going to connect two things for you, and please react to this for me. So a lot of times you hear governments talk about 50-year development plan, 10-year whatever plan, whatnot plan. But most of this, at least in the case of Ghana, I dare say, is not backed by research, right? So the government would plan to do XYZ in the next 50 years. But maybe by that 50 years, the technology may have changed, for instance, as an example, right? So all of this seem to be unfinished work. Now, with this again, and I need you to react to this for me again, please. Is this a sign that we are looking at a larger picture with scientific data applied to it? Is this Ghana taking a bold step to not just put out a plan? Okay, let's have a 50-year development plan. But now Ghana is saying, okay, let's back that with scientific data that's going to ensure that our plan is not going to fail. Please answer that for me, and I hope Dr. Razak will join us very soon.
Precisely. And how do you ensure that there is linkage between the establishment of the fund, the work that this fund would support, and it being linked back to policy planning, development planning, innovations, all of those things? Because if there is a disconnect between your national research fund and the things that you can use research findings to do, then you would have to go back and fix that disconnect, right? So I would hope that in investing in a national research fund, and let's say a group of researchers come up with a research proposal to look into job creation challenges, and they have some findings, I would hope that those findings would link back to the policy process where, let's say, a ministry for labor and employment will be able to use that in crafting solutions, or a parliament will be able to look at that and say, maybe we need to make some changes to our labor laws, or we need to make some improvement in certain rules and regulations. But you want to make sure that there is that linkage. I mean, think about all the work that the National Science Foundation in the US or other major government grants programs fund in the US. There is always that direct link. When I was a graduate school between 2001 and 2003, I was fortunate to serve as a research assistant on a project that was actually it was supported with a grant from Housing and Urban Development. My professor was researching into issues of predatory lending, low-income housing. But we used some of that information, that research, our findings, to make some recommendations to the Georgia State Legislature. We did some local programs to educate our residents around issues of predatory lending and all of that. And another professor on that entire project, she looked at solutions to how, she called it aging in place, right? How do we put things in place so that when people reach a certain age, they still have access to services, things like that. So again, those are some of the practical ways that you want your national research fund and the projects that you support to be able to link back to coming up with practical ways to address public problems, and challenges. Otherwise, then we end up just doing research for the sake of doing research.
And the president also mentioned that the research must be, and you have reiterated it also, of course, must be directed towards the most critical areas. Which areas do you think would be the top 5, for instance?
Yeah, good question. So, health, definitely. The health areas, definitely. Education, definitely. On economic issues about employment, especially youth employment, will be very critical, a priority area. Technology, and the kinds of innovative tools we can come up with so we can develop the kinds of tools that can improve governance processes is an area that I would highlight. I would also highlight, our governance, the governance area, right? How do we strengthen our public
the governance structures?
Precisely. How do you improve your governance structures? But those are some of the areas that I would prioritize in terms of immediate funding needs to be able to show that we are coming up with some research findings to support solutions.
Very interesting, because I think the vision of the president, at least as per the speech he gave, is also aligned along those same lines. Let's watch this short second video. When we come back, Doc, I would need you to please react to this for me as well.
Into commercial production. While I was watching the beautiful documentary they showed us, I was discussing with Professor Abigail about the non-toxic pesticides. Every year we import hundreds of millions of dollars worth of pesticides. Many of those pesticides are no longer used even in the countries where they manufacture them. And so if our researchers have researched and discovered a non-toxic organic pesticide, how do we scale that up so that our farmers have access to it? This is the gap the Ghana National Research Fund is coming to fill. And so its priority areas include food system transformation and agricultural resilience, health innovation and biosecurity, digital and industrial transformation, climate and environmental sustainability, and governance, data, and social systems. These priorities address the challenges and opportunities facing our nation. The objective is not simply to produce more research. The objective is to produce research that solves problems, that informs policy, that creates jobs, that strengthens industries, and improves the lives of Ghanaians.
Your reaction to that piece before I even ask you anything at all?
Yes, I mean, exactly some of the things we've been discussing so far, right? That you want the investments you make, the support that you give to researchers to look into even some of the areas that the president has mentioned, right? That it wouldn't be just research for the sake of doing research. Because trust me, if you leave academics, part of us would do research because we enjoy doing it. But we want to make sure that the research we do has a public purpose to it as well. So the president is spot on when he says, look, when all is said and done, we hope that this leads to job creation, dealing with climate change, improving agricultural practices, things like that. Yes,
and
we are able
innovation.
to innovate. Yes, health innovations. Yes, so it's really. I just hope that these objectives, right, these intended outcomes, that we will be able to operate the National Research Fund in such a way that it would get us there.
Yeah, and I was a bit focused on that, on the example he gave in that piece about the pesticide, thing, because I know, for example, that the Crystal Formation, for instance, have a product which is an organic pesticide, right? Safe for the environment and everything. And now we import such monolithic amounts of harmful pesticides, some of which the countries which produce them do not even use. So if we import, let's say, $2 million worth of, just as an example, $2 million worth of pesticide, let's put that into the research, for instance, right, to come up with something that's not going to harm the earth further down the road. But let's also shift our focus to innovation a little bit, though. When it comes to innovation, Ghana seems to be very hard with that, right? We see people making all kinds of interesting things, which they would do, make showcase and stuff like that. Some of these people have not been to any institution to be able to follow the rigors of accessing grants and, academic loans and stuff like that. Do you think such people should be considered in this research grant?
Yes,
Yes. For them to tap into that?
They should be. And so, whenever you are operationalizing a research fund, right, you need to create different buckets of the types of research that you would support. So just like you mentioned, maybe there are some experiential learning activities that you can support. And I hope that even as the fund grows and we think about the long-term nature of the fund, that support is not even just for, let's say, academics in academic institutions, right? Even your practitioners, people in professions. So let's just say that there's a nurse working in a public hospital interested in research. Can she and her colleagues form a consortium, apply for a grant, because maybe in their everyday work, they've realized that they could come up with some innovative solution to address some particular operational issue on the job, right? Or that there's a student who wants to spend the summer exploring some research area. Can we provide some support for experiential learning, right? Or there's that young man who may not necessarily have a formal education. Remember when we were kids, right? And the kids who were good at, they would cut the empty milk tins and use it to build a car to play with, right? How do you even support that kid with no formal education, but has some technical skills that, for all you know, can create something that we can use? Those are all the different, people that at some point you want to give consideration to in terms of how a national research fund is operationalized.
Great. And Doc, in terms of, I think maybe I should play another video together, but maybe we can just summarize that idea. The president also spoke about how happy academics are going to be because it's going to be like a fund on top of, certain funds that are already there for them and stuff like that. Do you think this is going to help? This is kind of on a, conjecturing. I'm asking you to conjecture a little bit, but do you think this is going to curb unrest among the teacher unions and stuff? It's going to help that a bit?
Well, you see, a research fund, I think, operates a little differently than, let's say, their book allowance or their research allowance, right? So most of the time, their quote-unquote agitations are around the things they've negotiated as part of a compensation package that is due them. A national research fund is different. It's not automatic. It's competitive. I hope it truly is competitive, right? But you put out a call for grants, applications, you apply, and then you get, right? But hopefully, though, the other thing I would say, though, is that let's say the book allowance is not enough for you to really do the kinds of research that you do. You would hope that with if you are successful to get a grant from the National Research Fund, it gets you to do the work that you're truly interested in doing. But because it is not, quote unquote, part of a compensation package, but an opportunity to see if you can get resources, that I'm not sure it would curb that. You know, those issues is always part of their labor negotiations, and that's why it becomes why once in a while, you know, they agitate and say, if I don't get it or if it's delayed, this is the action we will take.
So overall, Doc, what does this fund mean for Ghana in terms of connecting the dots? Because if I think the very idea of deciding to institute the fund at this time is as a result of research that has already been done, right? I think the president is probably basing on some research which has already been done, which says, okay, let's put the emphasis in these areas, right? Why did he outline these areas? I think it's based on certain research, which may be gathering dust, as the saying goes, on some shelf, but now decide to undust these, you know, research material and put them to use. What does it project for us as a Ghana, as a country? Do you think succeeding governments will be as enthusiastic about the fund? That's my worry, right? Because it's easy to institute a fund today. If in 4 years' time, President Mahama is not, or 2 years' time, or how many ever years' time, he's not president anymore, are subsequent governments going to be as enthusiastic about it? What can be done to cement it in policy or whatever, such that it cannot be tampered with? It cannot be a flash in the pan.
So I believe so. So if you recall, I mentioned that this was a fund that was established in 2020, and in 2020, when the act was passed, I think it was about 50 million cedis was invested in it as seed money. Of course, 50 million. If you think about the kinds of research that we want to do, it's a good starting point. But more can be done. So I'm just hoping that in the year 2026, with 100 million, being promised, and even the president also talking about, even if we take a small percentage of our annual GDP to invest in it. So hopefully the fact that it was passed in 2020 with a certain amount of seed funding, and then the president is launching again with a commitment to provide additional resources, that it continues, it continues like that. I just hope that one of the things we do, though, is you don't want the amount of money we commit to it to be just ad hoc, right? That perhaps one of the things we need to also make as part of the law or the rules is to say, maybe every year in the budget, we would be very specific to say, and for the National Research Fund, we are committing this amount to it. I think that would be an intentional way to sustain the fund, so that every year researchers know that once the budget is passed, there's maybe 100 million, 200 million available in grants to compete for. I mean, if you look at the US, for example, every year you know that in the budgetary process, the different agencies who offer grant programs, like the Department of Education, that they are going to put a certain amount, in the budget as part of their research programs. National Science Foundation, that a certain amount is going to go. That is one of the things I hope we will do, so that whether it's an NPP government or an NDC government, whether it is President John Mahama or whether it's a President Dr. Maud Bawumia, we would always have a National Research Fund very well funded so that we are able to support academic research.
All right, Doc. And finally, before we go, I have a very short clip that I need you to react to as the for the final question, please. Let's watch this.
It must not merely increase grant applications, it must increase ambition. Let us pursue breakthrough solutions in food security. Let us develop climate-smart technologies for African agriculture. Let us lead research into tropical diseases. Let us harness artificial intelligence to improve governance and public service delivery. Let us create innovations that can be commercialized, exported, and scaled up globally.
And that's where my emphasis is. Scaled up globally. Right? Because first of all, we've already spoken about looking at problems at home, but wait to the point where we can actually sell the innovation abroad. Please react to that for me as well.
Yes, very, very on point, ability to innovate, scale up, but also, how you, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. So very much on point, in terms of, the scaling up, the innovation, even the application process, how you make it known to the general public that you've opened the grant cycle for this year. How do people apply? How do they get the funds? How do they do their research? How do they report back with their innovative solutions, with their answers to say, here are some policy recommendations, here are some guidelines we can develop. So yes, all of those things are just in order and on point.
Okay. All right, Doc. Thank you very much. We want to say thank you very much for your time today. Again, I know that there are certain questions that still are hanging on people's minds, but generally speaking, I think it's great news, not just for academics, but as you have explained, for anybody at all who needs or who's interested in research, because they're separate buckets, right? So that the guy who has discovered some type of herbs that can treat a certain disease, right, can maybe go through the Center for Herbal Research or something, to access such funding and all of that. But thank you very much, Dr. John Osae-Kwapong. We'll let you go for
now. My pleasure, Senior. My pleasure.
Hopefully at some other time we can get you to crack another nut for us.
All right.
I appreciate your time very much.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So this has been Dr. John Osae-Kwapong, Research Fellow. We were also expecting Dr. Razak, Gyasi, but I'm going to check in real quick with the team to see what the update is on that one. Please stay, don't go away. We will be right back after this short commercial break. Newsroom, let's go for a short commercial break, please. And we'll be right back with the rest of the show. The Catfish Grill, Ghana's best kept culinary secret.
Is an African thing. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for representing for Ghana. Yeah. All I own and know me, I go by the name Stone Boy. To this. One of can't stop the shine, try and go blind. I'm up on the level so hard me up. Just show me a sign, me see 9 times and the lights never be for like wine. Cause few get chosen but many are. Some of them frozen but we stand tall. And we are flying and we not crying. To what I can hear we are born. No I don't know. What is who is? You get the filler. The rest of the man them a cheater. Them run after man like a cheater. But I use it as so boy you know me like Jesus and I run after Peter just yeah. Can I see some light in the crowd please? Yeah, Ghana people, I thank you so much for representing God. I was not supposed to be here. Because y'all know I just wanted to do a surgery, right? I just wanted to do some surgery, some. I know all of you know the news.
Making healthy food choices are a daily challenge for most people. You see, the food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Introducing the Green Health Pharmacy and Functional Medicine Clinic that gets to the root cause of your disease. We present to you the True Green Foods brand that allows you to enjoy healthy food options without sacrificing the foods you love. True Green Foods have low-carb swallow options for fufu, banku, tuozafi, eba, kenke, amala, and semovita. Good tasting and supremely delicious without compromising blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, weight management goals, and all diseases that one may be battling with. They also have a low-carb replacement for oatmeal, grits, and cream of wheat, which are highly dense in carbohydrates. Check out Alta Oats, Beta Oats, Clean Oats, as well as Kajma Porridge and Cream of Laka when you visit our shop. The breakfast options are not just delicious, but meet the standards of an anti-inflammatory diet. All True Green Foods are all diabetic friendly. Find Green Health Pharmacy in Woodbridge, Virginia, or call us on 703-670-3640. WhatsApp 571-300-5039. Find us on IG at Green Health Farm. There's no better way for a healthy lifestyle. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Okay, 1 2 1 2. Once again, we do apologize for the long break. We seem to be having some issues with Studio 2. We were supposed to bring you the interview from Studio 2, having a bit of issues with that. We're still working on that. As soon as we are able to, we'll bring you the interview from Studio 2. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and bring you another interview on the same subject that I finished talking to Dr. John Osae-Kwapong about. I am going to be talking to Madam, please give me a quick minute to pull her credentials up. And her name is Madam Akosua Ba Eneje. Akosua Ba Eneje. Madam Akosua Ba Eneje is the acting head of department for social science at the St. Monica's College of Education. And she is joining us right now to talk about the Ghana National Research Fund. Madam, if you can hear me, please activate your camera so we can go live and have a good discussion today about the Ghana National Research Fund. Thank you very much. Please activate your camera, Madam. We're still waiting for Madam Akosua to activate her camera so we can go live. Justice, if you can find a way to please prompt her to activate the camera. I'm not sure if she can hear me. I see her in the green room. She's just not activated yet. If you can prompt her to activate the camera so we can go. Oh, there she is. Thank you very much. I was just about to go for a short commercial break, but her camera is now activated, and we're going to go straight to Madam.
Yes, I've done that. I've activated the camera.
Oh, okay. I do apologize. Thank you very much for joining us, Madam Akosua Ba Eneje, Head of Department for Social Science at the St. Monica's College of Education. Thank you so much. So we invited you here today. I understand that you have been engaged in some programs going on regarding the recently announced Ghana National Research Fund. What can you tell us about that, Madam?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your listeners. We organized a 2-day seminar on grant writing and research and publication in St. Monica's College of Education as a way of trying to help my departmental members to be abreast with a new wave that is going on in the academia. This time is not about you writing an exams to pass at the College of Education level, because we are now no more the training college system. We are in the university system of a sort. And so the slogan is either you publish or you perish. And so if you want to remain in the academia, the best thing for you to do is to publish. And you don't just publish, there are nitty-gritties. There are traits, there are skills that you need to know, you need to master, have control over it to be able to get there and have it done and done very well. And so that was the idea that I had in mind, that I decided to help my members, and I extended it to other departmental members to do same. So when I heard of the president's initiative about research, I said that is a good news. If only it will reach out to us at the grassroots level, then definitely it's going to go a long way to really help equip teachers, lecturers. For me, I think we even need to start from a basic school teacher. And then it's going to help us to be able to learn and learn and learn very well. So by the time the person moves from the basic school and try to teach at the secondary and come to the college level, the person might have mastered whatever is supposed to master so far as research is concerned. So for me, I think it's a good news, and we need to embrace it.
This is what I'm talking about. These are some of the news which should be in the headlines, but which we're missing. Because what you just mentioned, if I understand you clearly, is that we are actually upgrading our educational system in terms of the teaching, the teaching staff, the quality, the quality that we turn out in the type of teachers we turn out. Because right now we're not running a training college system anymore. We're actually upgrading to a system where teachers are forced to up their game. Is that what I hear you saying, or am I interpreting that wrong?
Exactly. I came to the college system about 18 years ago with my first degree, and I went for my master's. Now, the basic requirement for you to teach at the college level is a PhD. And when you get the PhD, before you can move to senior lecturer, become associate professor and professor, it all has to do with publications. But in time past, when we are under GES, it's about you going for an interview, you writing an exams, and then you are promoted to assistant director 1 or director 2 or whatever. But now the game is changing. It is not about your exams. It's not about the interview. It's about your ability to contribute to knowledge. And whatever knowledge that you have, how do you contribute? Unless you write. When you write and you publish, that is where people will read and get to know, discover that this is what is going on. This is the trend. This is what is happening. And for you to be able to publish it's expensive. And so for me, if we have something like that, that we can really assess and then help us to be able to learn the right thing and do the right thing, I think it's not a bad idea at all.
I think we found a great guest in you, because you seem to be very well positioned to answer all the questions that I need answered for me, Madam Akosia. Let me ask you this. When people think about research, right, people straight away go to school type of research. Now, you have stated that you think that it should even start from the teacher level. And of course, you're talking in your area, but let's expand it a little bit. Do you think that this opportunity should be expanded or extended, I should say, to people who are not necessarily in academia, but have something to offer? Do you think so?
I think so. If you want to be novel, if you want to bring something new into existence, if you want to improve upon the already existing issues, you need to research. So, for example, if I produce tomatoes and I've realized that I'm not able to preserve my tomatoes and it gets rotten within the next 2-3 days after harvesting, and I want to find out how I can preserve it like others have been doing, you don't just sit in your house, close your eyes, and you dream. Even if you pray, it won't come. But you need to research. You need to go there and find out, what is the literature saying? What has others, what have they done? What is the new thing that they are suggesting? Because there are always gaps. What can I do within my area? And that is research. And so it's not only about the classroom, but only about every aspect of our human endeavor. Even when you go to stay in a new community, there's a new for you to explore. You need to research and find out what's going on within that environment in terms of security, in terms of what do you call it, facilities and other things. So it should be extended everywhere.
The schools
That's
available in the area for your children and all of that. I totally agree. But let's bring it back to your
exactly the road network.
Exactly, all that. Yes. So again, please share with us some of the frustrations that you faced prior to this time, right? Now the fund has been announced. Hopefully, it's going to, resolve those issues. But share with us some of the frustrations that you face as in your office when you try to source funding for some of the research that you find necessary to do.
At the college, you have to do your own research, publish your own papers, and then you
Oh, we seem to be having network issues right now.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Good. I can hear you.
Hello.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, Madam Akosia. Please go on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Can you repeat your question? There was a break somewhere, so I couldn't. Can you repeat the question? There was a break somewhere, so I can hear it very well.
I apologize. I actually moved on from that question. Let's just move. Well, no, I was asking you to share some of the frustrations that you face as you know when trying to access funding for research.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. In trying to assess it, one of the things that the challenges that we face on our part is, how do you get it done rightly? That is one. Because it's like you are writing a research work. There are steps, there are procedures involved. And if you don't know how to do it, you will get it wrong. Two, how do you even identify the opportunities that are up there to be able to even apply and then see whether you would have a luck in assessing it? Three, when you even do it, they want to find out how you have been able to do it over and over and over. Some of us who have never done that before, it becomes a challenge because you are a new person in the whole area. And so you need to look for somebody who is a master, who knows what goes into it, to be able to attach yourself with them. Or let me put it in a simple term, have a consortium to be able to work with them and to be able to gather people to establish that really becomes a challenge. And so I think these are the few challenges that we face in assessing it. It's not just that it is there, go and have it. No, it takes a hell of time and work to be able to get it.
And prior to the announcement of this, how did you source funding for your research?
We do it ourselves.
Meaning you use your own money?
We work it. We do everything. Everything is exactly.
Wow.
If you want to publish, if you want to research, you have to use your own money to do that.
I see.
Unless maybe you decide.
How about overseas funding? Because that's the other thing.
I'm listening, please.
Get grants and all of that from overseas sources, Ford Foundation as an example, and others, right? But it's such a big competition to even source that. Do you sometimes consider overseas sources?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And now here comes the president announcing a national research fund. Tell me, how do you think that is going to benefit?
These things are normally found in the traditional universities and a few at the college level. Yeah. It will be, for me, like I said earlier on, it's a good news. It's really a good news. But the point is, how is it going to be feasible for tutors at the college level, for tutors at the SHS level, at the basic level, to be able to assess it with ease? That is my challenge. It's a... But would it be easy for people to be able to assess it? That's what my worry is.
I see. I believe there are...
And so if there will be some mechanism that will help to say that maybe there is a quota specifically for colleges of education, additional universities, for SHS or something, then I think that will help.
That's a very interesting point you've raised. And we just spoke with Dr. John Osae-Kwapong, who indicated that funds of this nature normally have different buckets, right? So there's possibly buckets which have, there may be some for like certain types of research, which may be like maybe economic in nature, some may be like scientific in nature, some may be political in nature, right? But I think a chunk of it will come under the umbrella of education, which is right where you are placed. So I think that there's a good path for you and your colleagues to be able to access this fund. And I am already championing it, your case for you already, right? Because without the teacher, first of all, who are we, right? And let me ask you, what are some of the areas that you are interested in? What are some of the areas that you are researching into? And how do you think these are going to benefit the wider Ghanaian community? Okay, I don't know if it's frozen, but we seem to have a
the network.
Yeah, the network is terrible. Well, please go ahead. If you had a question, please answer it for me.
I just lost the latter part of it. So if you can just.
Well, I was just asking.
In a sentence.
I was just asking, what are some of the areas? What are some of the things you are researching into, and how are those going to benefit the wider Ghanaian public? Okay, I don't know what's going on. The network is terrible. I already had reports from Studio 2 that they were having network issues, and that seems to be manifesting with my guest as well. It seemed to be a network thing, not just, the whole entire network. I don't want to mention any, I don't even know what network she's using, but there seems to be some type of network issue. Let's put her back in the green room and come back and see if we can speak with her again. If not, then we will move on and go to Studio 2 for the next interview. Studio 2, please stand by. We'll be handing over to you in the next about 5 or so minutes. So please get ready. And let's try to add Madame Akusia Ban Nije back on. But I'm sorry for the terrible network. I don't know if I'm the one who's supposed to be.
We are used to it, so that's no problem. Used to
okay.
it.
So I was asking, what are some of the areas you are researching?
So in my department,
please go on.
In my department, we have people who research into the environment. They look at environmental issues, climate change, sanitation. They look at how we deal with our waste management and those things. We have those. I personally, I am into gender, and I look at disability and how they assess education. What are the challenges they go through in their daily lives? And I think just last year, we had a research and we looked at the challenges the people with disability face in trying to assess education within Mampong Municipal. And the findings was interesting. Very, very interesting. And then we also research into how religion help in climate change. How do we use the pulpit to preach about climate change? We are so much into it, looking at how the religious organization also would use their platform to promote good environmental practices. within the environment in which we find ourselves in. So right now, these are the 3 strong areas that my department is working on. So we have gender, we look at hygiene, menstruation and education, we look at disability and access to education and all those things. We also look at climate change, good environmental practices, how we manage waste within our community and especially in our schools. Where we are, it's a complex on its own. St. Monica's Junior, JHS, Secondary, the Training College, and the Midwifery. And it's all female institution. And so even if you have 500 in each of these institutions and they menstruate, how do they dispose of these parts? Such that it wouldn't create mess within the environment. And that is a huge challenge. And so we research into these things, and then we see how best in our own small way we can help others. So basically, these are the major areas that my department is into.
That is very
And if you are able to get it, we will be happy. We will do more. Yeah.
And I think you should make a very
so we even have a paper on that.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what do you do with the outcome of the research? Because, for instance, let me give you an example. If you go to the city of New York, for instance,
we publish.
Okay, 1 second. If you go to the city of New York, for instance, you cannot put up any public building without a ramp, like wheelchair access, right? You simply will not have the license. There's no way you'll be given the license by the city authorities or by the state authorities to put up any type of public building, including places of residence, business places, without a ramp. Disabled people who go in wheelchairs should be able to access every public building. So if you come up with your research and you push it at government hard enough, government will start making policies to favor some of the disabled people, physically challenged people that we're speaking about, right? What do you do with them? You said you publish them, but beyond publishing them, if people decide not to read, which is a disease we have in our country, what do you do with the research findings? Can you hear me, Madam Akosia?
After publication, I think what we do is that we try to, yes, my dear. After publication, we try to alert the heads of institutions about our findings, and then we leave it to them as to what to do. But I know one of our members has recently won a grant on drainage, I think with British something, I've forgotten the name, but he has been able, together with other gurus, but he has moved to the university level, and so he has been able to do that. So those of us at the college level, we are now crawling, trying to see how we can also, and that is why I organized the workshop, so that we will also know what goes into the writing of grants, and we wouldn't wait until we get people to always lead us. Let's try and fail. It's better than not trying at all. And so right after the seminar, we started trying to look at what we have done so far and put things in place to see. So when I heard of this thing, I told my able faculty members, actually, I've heard of this thing. Put your ears down. And if you hear anything about it, let me know. And let's also try, fight, and see if we can also benefit from that, so that people will hear and see and know and experience what we have been able to do. It shouldn't just be on the shelves. It shouldn't just be on the principal. People should be able to read and then implement whatever we have also been able to come out with. And so that is what we are hoping to.
Fantastic. I have an idea for you before we go, Madam Akosia. I think that especially because you are in education and you're actually in a department, I mean, in a college of education, your access to the Minister of Education should be shorter than most people. I think, and especially on the heels of the workshop that you just organized, you have gained some visibility, which I think you should capitalize on. I think that you should put in
for sure
a request straight away. I think you should be one of the first beneficiaries of this fund. And you already know how to put
with your help
together for grants and everything. Well, I'm advocating for you very strongly.
Yeah.
And I know that the minister will hear about this.
Okay.
If he doesn't, I'll personally send him this clip. I have to wait to do that. And he will. But on a lighter note, or on a more serious note, I think that you should do more than just publish. Right? And I'm not holding it against you because there was no resource.
I will be very grateful.
Yes, and now there is a resource for you to apply to. I think that you should be one of the first.
We have to use. Yeah. I'll be very happy.
Okay.
I'll be very happy.
Thank you very much.
Could you believe that when we had the when we had the seminar, we had about 60 people to 70 coming, and it was like, wow, we didn't know we could also do that. So I think it will go a long way to help our department.
I think so.
And other people too.
I think so.
And
remember me when you get the grant.
Somebody said, Madam, if it had to do with English, I can write. I will, my dear, I will. I'm so grateful.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time today. Madam Osae-Kwapong,
you're welcome.
Department, St. Monica's.
It's my pleasure. Yes.
Enjoy the rest of your day, madam. Thank you. And we'll come to you again. From time to time, we'll come and check in and see how things are going. And if you have any questions about research, we'll come to you.
I'll be grateful.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. My doors are always open. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Okay. That was Madam Osae-Kwapong, acting head of department, social science, St. Monica's College of Education. And she did justice to the subject. You see, we're looking at the subject from different angles, right? Now we see how research would actually help our national development. And just like the question I asked Dr. Kwapong, not Dr. Kwapong, Dr. Osae-Kwapong a short while ago. And in the meantime, Studio 2, please get ready. I'm trying to segue to you, so make sure you are all seated and ready to go. You should be taking over from me very short, Studio 2. But yes, as I was saying a short while ago, we plan as a nation, right? But part of the missing component is connecting the research or the planning that we do with like scientifically sourced research. Now, what President Mahama was saying is that if you find our researchers taking on projects and so on, they would get grants to do research regarding issues that are of a global nature, right? So we are never nuanced on the issues that bother us as a people. Let me tell you a short story. I have a friend of mine, schoolmate from back in the day, St. Peter's, right? He came from St. Francis Xavier College in the north. And then he came to do his sixth form in St. Peter's with us, finished, brilliant guy, brilliant student, went into medical sciences and all of that. As we speak, his name is Methodius Tuli. You can Google him if you want, Dr. Methodius Tuli, T-U-U-L-I, right? The American government gave him a huge grant. The last time I checked, they had backed up to almost $5 million in research, in a research that Methodius, who I sat in the same classroom with, is on right now. For the American government to put $5 million in a research headed by a Ghanaian researcher, it means a lot to them. But then the American government is not going to put that $5 million into resolving swollen shoot diseases for you, because that disease doesn't affect their farmers. That's our problem to solve. So I think what this is doing is localizing the issues, localizing the funding, localizing every aspect of the development agenda, right? So we know that in the next 50 years, this is what we want to do, and this is how we are going to do it. Based on scientific data, researched by our own researchers, based on our own realities, right? So that when we attack an issue, we are laser focused on how to attack the issue. And the president also spoke about harnessing that for a global audience or a global market or whatever. Let me give this example also. Let's say we find the cure for swollen shoot. Let me go back to swollen shoot, which is an issue that our farmers face. We're not the only ones who grow cocoa, right? So it means that we can export that knowledge to countries like Brazil, to countries like Cote d'Ivoire, who are the market leaders right now, to countries like all the other countries that grow cocoa, including China, who have started growing cocoa these days. You know, so that's what that whole idea is. It is a brilliant idea. I personally want to put my seal of approval on this idea, right, of the Ghana National Research Fund. But I also pray that it doesn't become, you know, one of those business as usual stuff. I pray that this becomes something that truly transforms even how we think about development to start with, right? Because like I said, we plan for 50 years. Okay, we have a 50-year development plan. 50-year development plan based on no results for the problems that we face. We have a 50-year development plan. Where does curbing the flooding, the annual flooding come in within that 50-year development plan? I haven't seen that, right? Within the next 50 years, we want to do this, that. But every year, we have a perennial problem, flooding. So within that 50-year development plan or 40-year development plan or whatever year development plan, how are we going to resolve these specific issues, right? So that if we have researchers who are researching this issue and they know that, okay, it's a perennial issue because the water comes from the hills and stops over here because people are building over there, it's going to take about 5 years to actually clear those spaces, to actually demolish people's homes and actually pay them compensations if we have to or whatnot. It's going to take this amount. Then we are actually being more pragmatic about our planning rather than have a 50-year development plan riddled with recurring problems. That's what I think. But thank you very much, our guests, Dr. John Osae-Kwapong and Madame Akusia Ba-Enineje. We will be cutting straight to Studio 2 right now, and we're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, you will have Studio 2, and you may see me again to sign off. But otherwise, thank you for joining me on the first half. We are crossing over to Ghana Studio 2 right after this commercial break. My name is Gyasi. I come in peace. I don't come to greatness. Thank you for joining me today. Back after this break.
Every year is like fantasy. Leave that to my video. I'm dying like a soul. This is what I am doing today. Leave that to my video. I like the New York people represent the reggae dancers. Give me this. Yeah. Suck them, suck them, suck them. Suck them, suck them, suck. Yo, give me this. Put your color on it and hear this way. All the African people. Representing the here. Camera, look at the one on the bumper black road. Yeah. Let me see all the people that are in the place. Where are people? So when Cameroon there, give thanks is an African thing. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for representing for Ghana, yeah. But then, all I own and know me, I go by the name Stone Boy. To this, on a can't stop the shine, try and go blind. Up on the level so hard me up. Just show me a sign, me see 9 times and the lights never be for like wine. Cause few get chosen, but many are. Some of them frozen, but we stand tall. And we are flying and we not crying. To what I can hear, we are born. What is who is?
All right. Thank you very much for staying again. We are having some technical issues from Studio 2, so we're going to call off the show for today. We sincerely apologize. You know how the operations go with when the show depends on internet, right? Once we have issues with, breaking the internet, that becomes a major issue, as you did see from our last interview with the guest. Even with her, we were having issues with the connection. But my sincere apologies for today. We will be ending the show here, and we will hopefully get back next week, God willing, with another version of the show, by which time hopefully there will be no internet issues and we should be able to bring you a much better show. We do apologize that we were not able to bring you the second interview as advertised from Studio 2 and the rest of the shows, but God willing, next week that should be happening. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Gyasi. It's not back more. I come in peace. I come not to please. And just remember, everything is good for what it is good for. We will see you, God willing, next week. After this video, bye for now. Thank you.
the filler. The rest of the man, them a cheater. Them a run after man like a cheater. But I use it as the boy, you know, me like Jesus, and I run after Peter, just Yo, can I see some light in the crowd, please? Yeah, Ghana people, I thank you so much for representing God. I was not supposed to be here because y'all know I just wanted to do a surgery, right? I just wanted to do some surgery, some. I know all of you know the news. Yeah, but I still said I was gonna come because yo. So why some people wicked, so do you know? Why some people, what is my name? Why some people, do you know? Why some people, like a rope, and in the tree to touch up the sky. Every day we see I work for your blind. Like a bird I want to fly. Then one day, what that they gonna do for me? I don't want anybody to this. You want them to give up these people, they must be the big thing. The Bible say every knee shall every day me I know. I was just one of them. Alright, then I say it this way. So no worry about the way. Yeah. So no worry about it. So no worry what the fuck they want to say because my life is precious. Me I live my life today. I'm not care about the gun concern and the backbiting. Up to the climax, up to the energy. See the camera, that's to the melody. They cannot hold me down. We are the party, what's up? Stop, and you begin, and you cross, and